Welcome to the Beau Show, your home for faith, family, and freedom. There's a state of emergency right now, and no, this is not my opinion or some media organization's way of clickbaiting you into their article or show. The state of emergency was declared by New York City Mayor Eric Adams, as buses of migrants keep getting dropped off in the city and they don't have enough available housing. Let's listen to Mayor Adams.
More than 17,000 asylum seekers, mostly from South America, have been bused directly to New York City from our southern border since April of this year. Many of these asylum seekers don't know where they are going or what awaits them at the end of the line. Hundreds of buses have arrived in New York City. Since early September, we have seen an average of 5 to 6 buses per day. Yesterday, at least 9 buses arrived. The majority are adults who cannot legally work in this country. Many are families with school-aged children. Some are in desperate need of serious medical care. New York City has helped them all. But extending that care has come at a great cost to our city and our people. The asylum seekers arriving here need more than a hot meal or a bed for a night. Without the ability to work legally in this country, they need long-term shelter, health care, and a great deal of institutional support. It is straining the limits of our ability to provide care for New Yorkers in need, and it is burning through our city's budget. We expect to spend at least $1 billion by the end of the fiscal year on this crisis, all because we have a functional and compassionate system. Our right to shelter laws, our social services, and our values are being exploited by others for political gain. New Yorkers are angry. I am angry too. We have not asked for this. There was never any agreement to take on the job of supporting thousands of asylum seekers. This responsibility was simply handed to us without warning as buses began showing up. There's no playbook for this, no precedent.
17,000 people have been bussed in since the spring, and 1 in 5 people in a New York City shelter is a migrant. Adams is right to point out that these migrants cannot legally work in the United States and that they'll need long-term institutional support. That means housing, assistance, health care, education, all of the above. Any migrant brought in is a long-term stress on American institutional tax-funded support. But then Adams says that New York's compassionate shelter laws and support are being exploited for political gain. Adams said they did not ask for this and that New Yorkers are angry. It was just handed to them. He says there was never any agreement to take these asylum seekers in. Well, Mayor Adams needs to have a talk with Joe Biden, because the reason these migrants are being bussed in is due to Joe Biden's border policies, which are diametrically opposed to Donald Trump's immigration policies. Adams has criticized Texas Mayor Greg Abbott for busing in these migrants to New York, calling the migrants political pawns. But when you look at the stats, El Paso, Texas Mayor Oscar Leeser, a Democrat, has sent more busloads of migrants to New York than Governor Abbott has. He has sent more than 60 busloads and recently approved a $2 million contract to continue busing them out to other cities such as New York and Chicago. That's taxpayer money right there. So think about this when it comes election time. When you vote for this type of politician, you will get this type of policy. They've set up a system where the migrant gets to go to the city of their choice in 48 hours. That's a pretty good deal, right? I can't think of any other country where I could go, where I want to move there, and they'll take me wherever I want to go for free. Mayor Leeser has said the people are not coming to El Paso, they're coming to America. Well, that's easy for him to say when he's bussing them out as quickly as they come in. He's just passing the buck. So it's interesting that Eric Adams points the finger at Greg Abbott, saying that he's politicizing this, when a mayor of his own Democrat party, Mayor Leeser, has shipped over 2,500 migrants to New York City, not for political reasons, but because he doesn't want this crisis in his city. So he just exports the crisis to another liberal city. Adams is using 42 New York hotels, working a deal with Norwegian cruise lines, and trying to build more shelters. When I was in New York a few weeks ago, I saw what I've always seen. People on the street sleeping in their own filth. New York can't even take care of its own people. The crime is awful. I saw an Uber Eats biker plow over a pedestrian and it came to blows between them. You never know when someone you pass may go postal on you because there's so much mental health instability there. Now you exacerbate that problem and that broken system with hundreds of migrants, if not thousands per day. And there is no way that they can handle that. But where Adams is dead wrong is making this seem like Republicans are exploiting it. His own party's leaders have been exploiting it. News 12 of the Bronx reports that secret federal flights are coming into Orange County, New York, in the Hudson Valley, not far from New York City. Take a listen.
There was about 17 young Spanish, mostly females, and 17 and under. I think the youngest was 13. They had 3 federal contractors.
Orange County Executive Steve Newhouse was among officials who made sure young migrant passengers weren't being trafficked last Friday when they arrived by a privately chartered plane at Orange County Airport. Newhouse says they came in from El Paso, Texas, and were escorted by federal officials in one of the latest highly controversial and politicized flights carrying migrants into airports throughout the Hudson Valley.
They had a manifest of the 17 people. They were going to different places. Some were going in New York, some were going to Connecticut, some were going to New Jersey.
Federal officials say the flights are legal and taking children to guardians or vetted sponsors after being separated from parents while crossing the border illegally. Newhouse says his concern is that there's no communication or information from the feds about when the flights are coming in or who the passengers and sponsors are. He appeared on Fox News Thursday to join in on the national conversation as more flights are being seen.
What kind of benefits do the migrants get?
These young children have to be educated, and they are being put into our school systems.
News 12 has reported on the seemingly secretive flights and concerns since last summer when they were first seen in Westchester and then at Stewart in New Windsor after the end of the Trump administration's strict immigration policies.
So you see that these are federally sponsored flights. These came from El Paso, where there is a Democrat mayor. So if we are thinking politically about this, it's a Democrat-led crisis. But Biden won't call it that. And if you recall, in the Trump administration, Democrats like AOC made a huge fuss over family separation. Yet it is clear that the teenagers that are coming to New York are the product of family separation at the border. Newhouse has stated that the feds do not communicate whatsoever as to when the flights are coming, who's on them, who the sponsors are, or where they are going. Someone from Health and Human Services only told them that they are under the auspices of the Office of Refugee Resettlement until their immigration proceedings. And that's something to think about. What immigrants did, perhaps through no fault of their own, is exploit the Biden policy for asylum seekers. Rather than using the Trump-era Remain in Mexico policy, which would require migrants to wait in Mexico until their court date, Joe Biden reversed that so that migrants would remain in the United States. Very few of those migrants are granted asylum status, and a high percentage don't even show up for their court date. So what Biden has done is to allow drug cartels, which now make more money profit off of trafficking than drugs, exploit this policy so that migrants can come to America, stay as long as they like, and hope for the best, but use federal resources to go wherever they want and whenever they want, and then use state resources. And like Newhouse said, you have to think long-term here. Kids will have to be educated, so now that's going to tax the public school system. This is why I say that this crisis has long-term implications. It's an investment for a finite amount of resources. And if we Americans are already suffering from bad policy that led to inflation, a stagnant economy, and energy inefficiency, why would we want to make that situation worse? Democrats cannot point the finger at Republicans on this issue, since it has been Democrat policy that has led to this crisis. And for Eric Adams to declare a state of emergency, he needs to be honest with New Yorkers.